Did you know that the worst thing in relationships isn't even betrayal, it's habit? The habit of tolerating those who don't value you, who for years exploit your kindness, your time, your resources, and in return give you only indifference or even mockery. I've been through this myself. There were people I considered friends. I helped them, supported them, stood by them, and then suddenly realized that for them I was just a convenient option. Today we'll examine 7 harsh but effective methods for dealing with those who don't appreciate you. This isn't just theory. This is what really works in our reality, where people often forget to say thank you and take kindness for granted. We live in a society where enduring is considered almost a virtue. Don't hold grudges. Forgive, he's a good person. We have to live somehow. Sounds familiar, right? But here's the problem. The more we endure, the less we're respected. And these aren't just my words. Carl Jung said, "What you don't realize controls your life." And if you've been ignoring your feeling of being undervalued for years, that's not humility. It's self-deception. And sooner or later, it results in resentment, depression, or even illness. So, let's examine all the methods and strategies for dealing with those who don't appreciate you to significantly improve your life. Stop being available. The first step is the simplest and most difficult at the same time. Just stop being available. This method is called stop contact. Stop giving them bonuses. Stop doing what makes you convenient. Cancel help, gifts, emotional support. Often people only start to value you when they lose their usual privileges. Don't write to them first. Don't call just because, and naturally. Don't offer help without their request. Proven. 80% of such people won't even notice your disappearance, and those who do notice will start behaving differently. Take back your convenience. Were you used as a free taxi? Say, "Sorry, I can't today." Without explanations. Were you emotionally used as a shoulder to cry on? Stop being a psychologist for free. Were you only called when they needed something? Now, you should be perpetually busy. And as I said, 80% of these people won't even notice your disappearance. They'll simply find another convenient person. And that's an excellent filter. Now you know exactly who didn't value you, but about 20% will be those who ask, "What happened?" You disappeared. Those are the ones you can work with. Maybe they'll really start respecting you. The thing is, people only value what they can lose. While you're always available, you're heir to them, invisible but necessary. As soon as you disappear, they either suffocate and start to value you, or they find other air. And then you have nothing to regret. And if it seems to you that this is manipulation, no, this is setting boundaries. If a person truly cherishes you, they'll notice your absence. If not, well, you've just freed up space for those who will truly value you. Compare their behavior with others, the second method, or step for dealing with those who don't value you. Compare their behavior with others. Let's conduct a simple experiment. Remember how this person communicates with those they truly respect. With their boss, they're polite, attentive, always available. With important people, they smile, maintain conversation, aren't late. But with you, they respond in monosyllables. Forget things important to you. Now ask yourself one question. Would my friend or partner act this way with someone they respect? If the answer is no, then it's not your fault. It's their choice. You're not too demanding. They consciously choose how to treat you. Why does this method work? It's simple. You stop deceiving yourself. Before, you might have justified it. Well, he's just that kind of person. Maybe I did something wrong. Now you see the truth. With others, he behaves differently. That means he can, but with you, he doesn't want to. You switch on cold calculation instead of emotions. Hurtful, yes? But now you have facts, not guesses. As Jung said, what isn't realized controls us. What is realized is already under our control. Just stop waiting for such people to change. If a person can be attentive but doesn't do it for you, it's a conscious choice. Start spending your energy on those who reciprocate. In Russia, they often say, a bird in the hand is better than a crane in the sky. But if the bird is a person who doesn't value you, maybe it's better to let go completely and look for those who will be genuinely glad to have you. I myself once thought, just a little more and they'll understand how important I am to them. But then I saw how these same people literally transformed with those who were cooler than them. And then it dawned on me. It's not that I'm not good enough for them, it's that they're not good enough for me. Since then, I've applied a simple rule. If a person puts you last in their life, don't put them even in a small part of yours. The quiet departure. Distance without words. The third method. The quiet departure. Distance yourself without unnecessary words. You know what's strangest? The more we try to explain to people that they're hurting us, the less they understand it. They either don't believe, come on, it seemed that way to you, or get angry. What? You got offended? How easily offended you are. Or they pretend they understood, but a week later it all repeats. Therefore, I'll now tell you about the most powerful but quiet way to let a person know they're losing you. Without fights, without lectures, without endless let's talk. Just start disappearing. How to do it? Before, let's say, you wrote first. How are you? Now wait until they write to you. Before you suggested meeting up. Now let them do it. Before you maintain the conversation. Now answer briefly but politely. You simply stop being an emotional donor. They complain about life to you. Quickly change the subject. They want your advice. You say, I'm not the best advisor on this issue. They expect you to entertain them. You say, sorry, I'm not in the mood to chat right now. And if they really need you, they'll start seeking contact. If not, they won't even notice your absence. And believe me, this is better than banal clarification of relationships and debriefings. In our countries, there's a bad habit. If a person is offended, they must explain why. We even like to shame you when we realize we're guilty ourselves, saying, the offended carry water. But don't listen to them. Think about it. Will someone who didn't value you for years really understand you after one conversation? Didn't they know they were ignoring your feelings? They knew it was just convenient for them. Silence isn't weakness, it's a test. For them, can they live without your attention? For you, can you live without their indifference? I'll reveal a secret. Of course you can. Don't be afraid. Personal story. I had a friend, 14 years of friendship. I always asked first how things were. First to congratulate on birthdays, first to suggest meeting up. One day I decided, enough, and stopped writing. A month passed, then 2, then a year. But he never wrote. And then I understood. This wasn't friendship. It was my illusion. The reality is they simply forgot about me and never remembered once. What to do if they ask, where did you disappear to? Don't justify yourself. Don't say, I was busy. That gives them reason to think you're still on the hook. Better answer, it just happened, and change the subject. Evaluate their reaction. If the person sincerely worried, perhaps it's worth giving them a chance. If they disappeared again after your answer, it means they were just curious, not concerned. Carl Jung said that loneliness isn't the absence of people around, it's the absence of understanding. And if after your quiet departure a person wasn't afraid of losing you, it means they emotionally left your life long ago. And now you have a choice. Continue running after them, or finally turn to those who are coming toward you. The mirror method. The fourth method is the mirror method. Start treating people exactly as they treat you. Not rudely, just mirror-like. They don't write to you. You don't write. They're not interested in your life. You're not interested. Imagine that every person is a mirror. They reflect to you exactly what you show them, and if you've endured their indifference for years, there's nothing to be surprised about. They've simply gotten used to the fact that you don't need to be valued. But today we'll turn this situation around. You become their reflection. How does it work? Simple. You stop giving more than you receive. He writes once a month. You reply just as rarely. He forgets to ask, "How are you?" You don't ask either. He cancels meetings at the last moment. Now you suddenly have things to do too. You stop being convenient. Before you adjusted to his schedule. Now only if it's convenient for you. Before you forgave rudeness. Now, sorry, but don't talk to me that way. You let him feel what it's like. People very quickly understand the rules of the game when they find themselves in your place. Why is this more effective than just staying silent? In our countries, there's a saying, "Kai, you reap what you sow." But many somehow forget that this works both ways. If a person doesn't call, they don't consider you important. If they don't thank you, they take your help for granted. If they don't support you in difficult times, it means they're only interested in their own benefit. The mirror simply shows them the truth. Personal example. I had an acquaintance. We communicated for years. I always asked how she was doing, supported her, helped her, and she answered when it was convenient for her. One day I decided, all right, now I'll answer her exactly as she answers me. The first month she didn't notice, the second she started writing more often. In the third she asked, "Whoa, why have you become so cold?" I answered, "I'm just behaving the same way as you." She got offended at first, then thought about it, and 6 months later started calling first. Not always, of course, but much more often than before. Because the mirror doesn't lie. It simply shows a person themselves. But if, seeing their reflection, a person didn't want to change, that's their choice. Your choice is to stop spending energy on them. Don't get angry. Don't feel guilty. Open conversation. As a psychologist with experience and owner of the channel All the Wisdom of Life, I'll repeat. If you're not valued, it's not a mistake of your heart. It's the blindness of another person. Jung proposed a simple algorithm. Realize, does this person really not value me, or does it just seem that way to me? Write down 3 examples. Talk, but not with claims, but with observation. I've noticed that my efforts remain without response. Why is that? Act. If nothing changes after the conversation, step back, not with anger, with dignity. Yes, it's painful, but the pain of parting is nothing compared to years of quiet humiliation. And even if you lose a friend, so what? Jung would say, you're not losing a friend. You're freeing up space for those who will come seriously. Remember, the world is full of people who won't understand you, and that's normal. Won't appreciate you, and that's their right. But there will also be those who see the sun in you, and for them it's worth living. As Jung said, the best thing you can do for those who undervalue you is to stop being part of their lives, and for yourself, start a new chapter. Practical example of open conversation. Imagine a situation. For months you've been helping a neighbor, fix his car, sign documents, and when you need help, he's suddenly very busy. Sound familiar? In our parts, Russia and former USSR, it's often like this. We accumulate grievances silently because it's uncomfortable, somehow awkward to say directly, and then we explode out of nowhere or come home and take it out on our family. I went through this myself, endured for years, and then simply stopped communicating with people who didn't value me. Because there's a better way. Open conversation. Tell the person specifically without general phrases directly to their face, "Let's do this." If you really don't want to help, say it honestly, because it turns out I'm always on standby and you're not. After this, there will be approximately 3 scenarios among more or less normal people. First, the person will apologize and correct themselves. It means they simply didn't notice the problem. Such people are worth keeping in your life. Second, they'll start making excuses. "What do you mean?" This is an alarm bell. Third, they won't understand it all or will blame you. Then boldly apply method number 3, distance. Remember how Carl Jung said, "What isn't realized controls us." While you're silent, the situation will repeat again and again. From my experience, I'll say, when I started speaking directly, without aggression, but also without fawning, about 50% of people really started treating me better. The rest, well, that's their choice. The main thing is don't be afraid. In our countries, it's often believed that you need to endure, but patience doesn't mean silence. You can and should talk about what bothers you. That's the only way healthy relationships are built. And if after an honest conversation nothing changes, then we act much more harshly. Leaving without regrets. In any case, there will come a moment when you need to take the most difficult but most liberating step. Just leave. I remember holding on to relationships for years where I was taken for granted. Like many, I thought, maybe endure a little more. What if the person changes? And these thoughts gave me no peace until one day I realized nothing changes. After honest conversations and all attempts to establish contact, the person remains the same. This means only one thing: they want it that way. In our reality, especially in CIS countries, we're all accustomed to some kind of sacrifice. I don't understand. Endure for the sake of the relationship. You must always forgive. Who if not you? But don't listen to them. Carl Jung said a wise thing. Where there's no reciprocity, there's no real connection. There's only habit and dependency, and to just leave, you need to know how to leave properly. Without loud scenes, you've already said everything in open conversation. Without guilt, you gave the person all chances with gratitude. Even negative experience taught you something. You know, I myself left such relationships more than once. And you know what's most amazing? New people came very quickly to the freed up space. Those very ones who from day one valued both my time and my kindness. Imagine that your life is a book. Some characters appear on only one page, others stay for a whole chapter. But only you decide who stays until the very last page. Don't be afraid to turn the page, friends. Believe me, new chapters always turn out much more interesting than those old ones that should have been finished long ago. If right now you're scared to take this step, just imagine yourself a year from now. How will you remember this moment? With bitter regret that you didn't leave earlier, or with light relief that you finally freed yourself? Choose wisely. You really deserve better. Value yourself. There's one old truth that never loses its relevance. How you treat yourself is how others will treat you. You're not obligated to be convenient for everyone, not obligated to tolerate those who don't notice you, and definitely shouldn't justify their behavior. Try these methods not for revenge but for yourself, to finally feel that your time, your feelings, your life, all this really costs a lot. Final thoughts from the author. How do you deal with those who don't value you? Be sure to write. Understanding the psychology behind undervaluation. 1. The reciprocity principle in relationships. Healthy relationships operate on reciprocity, a balanced exchange of care, effort, and respect. When this balance tilts consistently in one direction, it creates what psychologists call a parasitic relationship dynamic. The person giving more experiences, emotional exhaustion, compassion fatigue, decreased self-worth, reinforcing the belief they don't deserve better, learned helplessness, feeling unable to change the situation. The taker, meanwhile, develops entitlement. They come to expect your efforts as baseline rather than appreciating them as gifts. 2. Why people take others for granted. Understanding the why can help you depersonalize the hurt. Convenience, bias. Humans naturally conserve social energy for people they perceive as higher status or more beneficial. Secure attachment assumption. They unconsciously believe you'll always be there, so they don't need to invest lack of consequences. You've never enforced boundaries, so they've learned there are no costs to treating you poorly. Their own issues, often people who can't value others, struggle with self-worth themselves. The gray rock. Method. When dealing with particularly toxic people who feed on emotional reactions, become deliberately boring and unresponsive. Give neutral, factual responses without emotion. This makes you uninteresting to emotional vampires. The cost-benefit analysis exercise. Write down what you invest in the relationship versus what you receive. Be brutally honest. If the ledger is severely imbalanced, that's your objective evidence. The future self technique. When struggling to set boundaries, ask, what would my future self 5 years from now thank me for doing today? Usually the answer is setting boundaries and walking away. Reframe selfish as self-care. In many cultures, prioritizing yourself is seen as selfish. Reframe this. Taking care of yourself is like putting your oxygen mask on first. You can't help others effectively if you're depleted. 4. The neuroscience of breaking attachment. Here's something scientific the text doesn't mention. Breaking away from people, even those who hurt us, triggers the same brain regions as physical pain. This is because humans evolved as social creatures where rejection equaled death. Understanding this helps you recognize that. The pain is real and biological, not weakness. It will pass. Neuroplasticity means your brain will rewire. New positive connections will ease the pain faster than willpower alone. Practical tip: replace the time you spent with that person immediately with activities that boost oxytocin and dopamine, exercise, creative hobbies, time with people who do value you. 5. Warning signs. You're being undervalued. Asymmetry test. You initiate 80% plus of contact convenience test. They're only available when they need something. Celebration gap. They don't celebrate your wins, but expect you to celebrate theirs. Crisis comparison. In a crisis, they disappear, but expect you during theirs. Respect differential. They treat strangers or acquaintances better than you. Memory failure. They consistently forget things important to you. Effort mismatch. Their effort level is dramatically lower than yours. Excuse factory. They always have reasons why they can't reciprocate 6. Cultural considerations. Collectivist cultures often emphasize group harmony over individual boundaries. Religious traditional cultures may glorify suffering and self-sacrifice. Immigrant cultures may teach don't make waves as survival strategy. Counter-narrative. True strength isn't enduring mistreatment. It's having the courage to demand better. The people worth keeping will respect your boundaries. Those who don't aren't your people. 7. After you leave. The rebound. After you implement these methods, expect a potential hoovering attempt, named after the vacuum cleaner. The person may suddenly love bomb you with attention, apologize profusely, make grand promises of change, play victim. I can't believe you abandoned me. How to respond. Remember, their change is motivated by loss, not by valuing you. Look for sustained change. Anyone can be good for a week. Do they maintain it for months? Trust your gut. If you feel manipulated, you probably are. Know your worth. You're not responsible for their feelings. 8. Building a life that attracts the right people. The ultimate strategy is becoming so fulfilled that you naturally repel takers and attract givers. Develop strong self-worth. Pursue mastery in something you care about. Build a life you don't need to escape from. Cultivate internal validation over external. Create high standards. Know your non-negotiables. Communicate them clearly. Enforce consequences when violated. Invest in reciprocal relationships. When you find people who value you, invest deeply. This creates a comparison point that makes one-sided relationships more obvious. 9. A framework for decision-making. When unsure whether to stay or go, use this framework. Stay. If the person acknowledges the problem when confronted. They take concrete action to change, not just apologize. The issue is new, not a years-long pattern. The relationship has significant positive history. Your gut says they're worth one more chance. Go if you've had the conversation multiple times with no change. They gaslight you. You're too sensitive. You feel drained, anxious, or small around them. You're staying out of guilt, not genuine desire. Your gut says you're done. 10. Self-compassion. During the process. Finally, be gentle with yourself. It's not weakness that you gave so much, it's evidence of your capacity to love. You didn't waste years. You learned invaluable lessons about boundaries. Leaving doesn't make you the bad person, it makes you the person who respects themselves. You may grieve the loss, grieve the potential, the hope, the version of them you wanted them to be. What I've added here is the psychological why behind them and additional nuance for implementation. The core truth remains. You teach people how to treat you. Every time you accept less than you deserve, you send a message about your worth. When you finally enforce boundaries, you're not being mean. You're being honest. Your job isn't to make yourself smaller so others feel bigger. Your job is to be fully yourself and let that filter out those who can't appreciate it. The right people won't need these methods because they'll naturally value you. These strategies aren't for maintaining relationships. They're for ending the wrong ones, so the right ones have room to grow. Remember, loneliness with the wrong people is more painful than solitude with yourself. And the space you create when you remove those who don't value you becomes the room where those who do can finally find you. Let's discuss together. If this video was useful, like and share with the right people. This will help others change their lives for the better. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.